On your Friday episode of Locked On Raptors, well, I guess we have to talk about Scottie Barnes' hand.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Friday, April the 4th, and I am your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can also find the show on Instagram, and you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. It's free to join. Please come hang out amongst pals. You can also go support the daily Locked On Raptors newsletter. QR code on the screen. Link in the description of the podcast. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can go and sign on up. Just drop your email in the bar, and you will get my original words about your Toronto Raptors 5 days a week. I've done it all season long somehow throughout this godforsaken year, and it'll keep up beyond that as well. All for the low, low price of On the House. You get Katie Hind, a League at Large pieces. You get Michael Shearer basketball poetry mixed in there as well. And it costs you nothing except signing up and getting those emails to you every single day. Please go do it. It makes me feel very good. Thank you. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And we are off and running here on a Friday edition of the show, talking about a 112-103 loss to the Portland Trailblazers on Thursday night, a loss that comes very close to solidifying the Raptors into the 7th spot in the NBA draft lottery. The magic number is now 2. A combination of 2 Spurs wins and or Raptors losses will get the Raptors entrenched into that spot at the very least. There's still an outside chance that they could catch the Nets and get into 6th. That seems very, very remote at this point. One way or another, it seems the Raptors are going to have that 7th spot in the lottery, which has kind of felt like it's been the case for about a month now, which kind of falls into the thing we're going to talk about here very shortly, which we'll examine. We'll talk about Scottie Barnes in a sec. We're also going to get into a fun little segment based on my in-laws going to the game last night. I don't have many takes still to share, but they just watched the team for the first time all year. Maybe I can get into some of their takes and see how they're doing. In fact, I will do that. Not maybe at all. That's coming up. We're also going to get to the good, the bad, and the as we usually do. But yeah, let's get to it. Scottie Barnes, handgate, fingergate. The big news from last night pregame, Darko Rajakovic spoke to the assembled media and was asked by Michael Grange about Scottie Barnes and why he's playing, despite other guys getting rest nights on and off. Obviously, they've been kind of doing the alternating thing with Quickly and Pirtle, and then RJ Barrett swapping in and out. And Darko's response there was essentially, yeah, like Scottie wants to make up for lost time. He missed a big chunk of the season at the end of last year, spent like 8-9 months not playing. And then he had that injury, in the first week of this season where he missed 11 games. And he just wants to play a full season, get the full freight of a season under his belt and make up for lost time, which, hey, I think that's pretty fair. Professional basketball player wants to play professional basketball. I think that's fine. Darko also talked about how Scottie Barnes has been dealing with a hand problem, and that has been really affecting his shooting percentages of late over the last couple of months. He talked about this before and after the game. It's been a couple months now that the hand has just not been totally right for Scottie Barnes. And, we talked about it on a show earlier this week regarding his really rough efficiency numbers over the course of the last 2-3 months. To me, it's a little encouraging if we're going to do some toxic positivity and dust it on this bad boy, the idea that an injury might be to blame for his shooting percentages falling off a cliff, that seems encouraging. That feels fixable. That feels like not some intractable thing that is just part of who he is as a player now. That seems good. Aaron Rose of SI then followed up with, well, if Scottie Barnes is hurt and not playing well as a result of it, why is he still playing all these games? And to that, Darko Rajakovic basically said, good point. You make a compelling point there, Aaron. And look, I'm not here to say that what the Raptors have been doing down the stretch here with their decisions to play some guys and not play other guys, their, sort of pioneering of this new wave of tanking by just not playing your starters in the last 8 minutes of close games that, other teams have maybe started to co-opt a little bit as well. I'm not saying it's been, super sort of straight and consistent in terms of the messaging. I think it's been, a little bizarre, no doubt. Like, I'm not here to sort of say, yeah, this is totally normal what they're doing. It's very weird. It's not sort of conventional as far as what teams that are tanking usually do. Usually teams that are tanking are a lot more just kind of shameless about it and saying, yeah, we're shutting this guy down. We'll see him in March, see him in October or whatever. And the Raptors haven't done that. Part of it is to do with, I think, the player participation policy. Scottie Barnes is a former All-Star, therefore he is subject to the rules defining when you can and cannot rest guys. And so that might be part of it. $100,000 fine ain't much, and maybe they should just pay it. But also, I don't think they want to just go throw $100,000 around for no reason if they don't have to, if Scottie Barnes also wants to play. And so, yeah, this caused a bit of an outrage, I think, amongst the fan base. I know our pal Blake Murphy had to turn off his mentions because people were just so outraged at the idea that this guy who is hurt is playing through it. And it's interesting because how many times in the last however many years have, in the conversations about load management and guys, not playing through things and sitting out too eagerly, how often has it been that, guys get praised for playing through injuries? Like, it's a good thing. Oh, you're playing through injury. You're tough, whatever, like good stuff. I'm not someone who thinks anyone's got to be a hero. I think, like, for me, growing up as like a hockey fan, getting to the end of the playoffs and seeing, the reports come out after like a Stanley Cup run and, oh, this guy on this team had like a punctured lung because his rib was poking into it because he broke it in the first round of the playoffs and he just played through it. Like, that's dangerous. That's reckless. That's dumb and bad. I don't think what Scottie Barnes is doing right now, playing out the stretch of a season where he, by all accounts, just wants to get some run in because he didn't get run in. Look, I can relate. I hurt all the time. I'm constantly in a state of general body soreness. I like to play basketball 2 times a week nonetheless because playing basketball is fun. I imagine Scottie Barnes, a guy who ostensibly likes to play basketball, just wants to play if he thinks he can go. And to his credit, while the offense is certainly cratered, his defensive contributions have been still fantastic over the course of this last 3-month stretch, frankly, the entire season. He's been incredible on that end of the floor. He's been one of the best defenders in all of basketball, one of the most impactful defenders in all of basketball. If not for the Raptors' record, there would be a legitimate, like, very salient case to make that Scottie Barnes belongs in an all-defense team. So you can't, like, knock him for, like, not trying. It's not like he's going out there and totally loafing it. I think on offense, certainly, he's been way less assertive. He's more eager to just kind of stand in the corner, not get too involved in the action. Maybe he'll get into it as a possession progresses and it comes to him. It's been more sort of, hey, everyone else kind of do stuff. I'm going to be out here on offense. And maybe that's just like hand management. Maybe that's him kind of not being totally locked in because the season is lost and the franchise has declared they don't care about winning games. I just think there's so many weird competing factors going on with this team right now that I just can't get that up in arms over Scottie Barnes playing through a hand thing. That, look, if it was a risk of being something serious, something long-term, I can promise you Scottie Barnes would not be playing. This is the team where Alex McKechnie is the head trainer, the vaunted guy who figured out Kawhi Leonard's health for a year, the shoelace master with DeMar DeRozan back in the day. Like, not only is Alex McKechnie good at his job, he's proud of how good at his job he is. I don't think he's going to go risk his reputation or the health of one of his players by giving Scottie Barnes the green light to go play through something that can be aggravated beyond pain management, which is what it seems to be right now. Again, I'm not a hand doctor. I don't know exactly what's going on in every single metacarpal, metatarsal. I don't know if those are hand or feet bones because I'm not a hand doctor. But I just, if this had any bearing on really anything to do with the Raptors situation right now, I think there'd be more cause for concern, right? I think, if the Raptors were pushing for the playoffs right now, and maybe they were in a playoff spot, just kind of jockeying for seeding, and Scottie Barnes was not right, 100%, sit him down. You got to get him right for the playoffs. That's what matters most. You worry about seeding later. You just got to have your best guy available and healthy. Once you get to the playoffs, totally sit him down. If this were a situation, again, where there was like actual genuine risk of Scottie Barnes doing permanent damage to his hand, then yeah, 100% sit him down. But the fact that he's playing suggests to me that that's not the case. And so what this really feels like it comes down to, what the outrage feels like it comes down to here is outrage not out of care about Scottie Barnes, but out of worry that Scottie Barnes playing is going to in some way ruin the Raptors' position in the draft lottery. This is what I think the outrage is coming from, and I think it's insane. I think if you're worried about Scottie Barnes playing because you're worried about them slipping in the draft lottery from the spot 7th that they've essentially been locked into for a month now, I think you need to get a grip and sort out your priorities just a little bit. The draft lottery is not everything, and it's also a flat lottery. No matter where you end up in the lottery, the odds are stacked against you feeling good at the end of lottery night. Most teams are going to not get what they want. And whether you're fifth, sixth, seventh, the odds are still stacked against you one way or another. Yeah, they're stacked a little more against you when you're seventh. They could have sat Scottie Barnes throughout this entire month. They went 10-5 in March. I don't think they played brilliant basketball in March. They were just playing some of the worst teams you've ever seen in March. And they still probably go something like 9-6, 8-7 at worst without Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes, notably, not playing well on offense right now. So it's not like his playing is really damaging all that much their ability to win these basketball games. Yes, when he's been on the floor, they're still much better. They're a positive team by quite a bit when he's on the floor and quite a bit of a negative team when he's off the floor. So if you want to say, oh, he's they could have gone 5-10 in March and really shored up a better spot in the lottery by having Scottie on the bench, then sure, I guess that's a thing to get upset about. I just don't think in the grand scheme with the schedule they had, with the guys on this team who are just a bunch of tryhards. You've got Jamal Shed out there forcing 8-second violations in an April 3rd basketball game like it's his job. You've got Jacoby Walter, who we'll talk about later, playing his ass off. Like, this team was going to win probably too many games to keep pace with the Sixers, who have gone full shameless mode. They're not even playing Quentin Grimes, who is ostensibly a guy where it's like, wow, look at this wonderful thing Quentin Grimes is doing. No, we got to stop that now. Like, you would think they'd want to keep that rolling, but no, they're just as shameless as all these other tanking teams. There is no honor among tanking teams. The Raptors are not less honorable than some of these other teams. They're not more honorable than some of these other teams. They're all loser tank teams. They all stink. What the Raptors are doing here with Scottie Barnes, I just don't think it matters enough in the grand scheme of things. It's not changing their position. It's not jeopardizing his future health. It's not derailing a potential run through the playoffs, which obviously they're not going to be going on. I just think it's such a nothing burger to get upset about. And I think if you're upset because Scottie Barnes has been playing basketball, the professional basketball player who's paid to play professional basketball playing basketball, if that's an affront to you, as that he's playing through a hand injury that clearly he's fine enough to manage and sort of sort through, even if he's not at his best, I think you just need to kind of get your head checked a little bit and sort of the priorities. And again, realize like they're seventh. They're going to be seventh. They're at a 98.1% chance right now per Basketball Reference of being seventh in the lottery. They're not changing. They're going to be seventh. This has been what it's been on track for a month now, ever since the schedule turned to this cream puff down the stretch run that they've been on. And I just don't think Scottie playing versus not playing would be changing that at all. You know, you want to get upset about the mixed messaging? Sure, I guess that's fine. But grand scheme of things, we're not going to be thinking about this in 3 months, 6 months, a year. This is going to be a blip on the radar. And I just don't think it's worth the consternation that it seems a large swath of the fan base really wanted to sort of get into a fuss about after the news came out last night that he's in fact been playing through an injury over the last little bit. I'm so tired of this season. We're going to come back on the other side and we're going to get wholesome. My in-laws were at the basketball game last night. They bought some nice seats. They went and sat close behind the Blazers bench. It was the first time they've been to a game all year. One of the first games they've watched all year. And they had some takes. I'm tired of having takes. We're going to lean on my in-laws for takes and see just how right they may have been. We'll get into that coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us and again. And if you're still feeling that lost hour of sleep many weeks later, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes need a boost to power through. Look, we're on a back-to-back for the Raptors. I live in Hamilton. Traveling into the game is very fun. I like it. I love going on the train. It's very relaxing. It's great, but it's tiresome. Late nights, early mornings as I get up and have to make podcasts for you hogs out there. I love you hogs. You're my favorite. But yeah, it's tiresome stuff. And so 5 Hour Energy today, that might be exactly what I need to get myself through to this Raptors-Pistons game. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and get it delivered right to your door. And you need one now? You can go grab a 5 Hour Energy at your local grocery store or convenience store. They're everywhere, baby. Usually right up at the front of the counter, too. Go check them out. Stock up today and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy. Today's show is also brought to you by Wayfair, and spring is here. That means it's home project season. Whether you're refreshing your room or tackling a full renovation, Wayfair is the best kept secret for all things home improvement. I've been talking about this a little bit. I'm just about finished the renovation of the room next to my office here, where we're making it a guest room so we can make room for the baby's room downstairs when the baby comes soon. And it's been a fun renovation, and we're just about ready to put furniture in there. Maybe want a chair in there, maybe some shelves. Either way, we're going to look at Wayfair to see what kind of deals we can get to fill that room up with some nice, affordable furniture, from small updates like stylish cabinet hardware to major upgrades like new vanities, sinks, and outdoor lighting. Wayfair has quality products for every budget. And yeah, they make it super easy. The shipping is fast. It's easy. No hauling items from the store. I hate hauling items from the store. Wayfair just delivers it right to your house. That is pretty darn sweet. Wayfair makes home improvement easy. Get started now at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Back at it here on your Friday edition of Locked On Raptors with some takes from my in-laws. Yeah, my in-laws, who will remain nameless because you freaks don't need to know that information. They went to the game last night, bought some tickets a ways back. I don't think they were prepared for the tank-off that they were going to see. That said, they got some fun stuff. Shaedon Sharpe had himself 36 points, most points ever by a Canadian against the Raptors. That's pretty sweet. This was not, as far as recent Raptors games go, it was pretty entertaining up until the last few minutes. So they got a pretty good game. And we met up on the train on the way home. And I just kind of was talking about the game. I wanted their takes. And I wanted to run through some of the takes that they had and just kind of see if they passed the smell test. Do they align with things we've been talking about here on the show all season long? Let's get into some of them. My favorite one was, quote, from her mother-in-law, quote, "They look like they like each other, like they have fun. I think they must hang out." That seems pretty much like a nail on the head. That's what this team's whole deal is. They are a pretty close connected bunch. It seems like Darko Rajakovic has really like that whole family thing. Like, it's actually kind of coming through with this squad. Obviously, they're a 28-win basketball team in early April. And yet, through that, they've maintained a pretty good familial, convivial, jovial vibe over the course of the season, which I think is pretty great. So yeah, you nailed that one, mother-in-law. In addition to this one, talking about the warm-ups, quote, "They look like they like to dance, and I would like to go dance with them, especially Jacoby Walter." Yeah, Jacoby Walter seems like a fun guy. The Raptors love to dance. They're great on the sidelines. The warm-ups before the games, the intros, they're all up in it. Again, back to that fun vibes thing that this team's had going all season long through some pretty tough times. It's pretty nice. It's cool. Love that take. A couple like actual basketball opinions here. Oh, there was one more non-basketball one. Matt and Jack, really handsome in person. This came from my father-in-law. Game recognized game. Matt and Jack are very handsome in person. We love those guys. Basketball takes from them. Jacoby Walter. They're very in on Jacoby Walter. Really love the intensity with which Jacoby Walter plays basketball. And I got to say, nail on the head again. This was not the greatest shooting game in the world for Jacoby Walter last night, but led the team in minutes and was a +6 in a game they lost by 9. And in his minutes, just did a lot of stuff that was really encouraging. Again, the stuff that I've been talking about a lot about Walter this week, like his potential, why I view him as a future starter potentially, and sort of the great sort of steps in his development that have come along. I think the shooting and stuff, hopefully that comes along, and the finishing on the interior comes along as he gets stronger and bulkier over time. He's still 20 years old, but it's the stuff on the margins. It's the little things. It's the rebounding acumen. 3 offensive rebounds for him in this game, 7 boards overall, 3 assists, and he could have had more. He was whipping really nice looking pocket passes, pick and roll passes to rolling bigs that, in a couple cases, they ended up with buckets. In a couple cases, it ended up with Orlando Robinson getting stuffed at the rim or missing a floater or something like that. But like really, really creative reads with the ball in his hands. Like, that's the stuff that's really intriguing with Jacoby Walter. Again, coming into his career, I thought he was hooper pilled. I thought he was a guy who was going to go and just try to call his own number, pull up mid-range merchant, all of this stuff. That's really what he felt like. It's why I wasn't like super stoked at the pick when it happened. But man, has he proven me wrong. He just has such great feel, a great understanding of where to be, when to cut, when not to cut, when to space, where he's where the next pass is going. Hit the ball in his hands quite a bit in this game. 3 assists, 1 turnover. And this was a game where there were a lot of really like loud, stinky turnovers by the Raptors, just like complete shacked in a fool level passes in some cases. But Jacoby Walter, man, just filling those gaps. And again, a +6 team best in this game in 30 minutes in a game they lost by 9. That's impressive stuff. I thought he was really good. And defensively, talk about the intensity that my in-laws really enjoyed from him. Like in dude shirts, really good defensively. Yeah, Shaden Sharp got the better of him a few times. Shaden Sharp was on one in this game. Great for him. But I thought in general, Jacoby Walter, damn good defense. I continue to think he's going to be a two-way player in just like the most additive, important sense. And yeah, I fully endorse these takes from my in-laws. Another one, Jamal Shed. What's that guy's little deal? He's awesome, quote unquote. Yeah, my in-laws quite enjoyed Jamal Shed, who again in this game, just a nasty little sicko that guy can be sometimes. And it was an effective game from him. Played 25 minutes, started 10 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 of 3 from downtown. Nice to see him hit a couple threes after it's been a bit of a fallow stretch for him of late. And yeah, he had that one possession where I think it was on Shade. No, it was Delano Banton. He was in Delano Banton's shirt all the way up from the inbound under the Blazers basket, forced the 8-second violation. He's just nasty. And I continue to think as the whistle gets better for him, as he gains a rep as a nasty little sicko on the ball, playing this high pickup point defense, the Raptors have clearly sort of identified as a thing that they can use to get a lot out of their guards, in particular Shed. I think he's only going to continue to level up as a defensive impact guy. The defensive impact for him this season, not been there. That's what happens with rookies. But overall, those little moments like that, the couple steals, the forcing the 8-second violation on Banton, really just up in his stuff that entire stretch up the floor. No room to breathe. It was wonderful to see. Really exciting stuff. One of the bigger crowd pops of the night was watching Jamal Shed just completely harass former beloved local Delano Banton. And yeah, the takes from the in-laws, they're on point. They're very good today. Last one was related to Donovan Clingan of the Portland Trailblazers, a guy who I know a lot of Raptors fans like and kind of yearn for, as a guy the Raptors in theory could have drafted last year with the pick that they ended up conveying to the Spurs and got traded later for Rob Dillingham to the Minnesota Timberwolves, or from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Got traded to the Wolves. Wolves took Dillingham. That's what I'm trying to say. Look, Clingan had an all right game. He had 8 points, 13 boards, 5 offensive rebounds. It's the thing he does. He was 3 of 6 from the field, missed a 3, had 3 blocks. He totally consumed Jacoby Walter on one attempt at the rim, which was pretty funny. But the take from my in-laws here was that big guy on Portland. I don't think he's very good. He's just really big, which hard to argue with that. I don't know. I know he's had some moments and he's a solid enough rookie. I've never been a super huge Clingan guy. I worry about the sort of the viability in serious basketball games as a dude who doesn't have a ton of mobility, the conditioning. Who knows? Can he be a guy? He played 30 minutes last night. Good for him, but not a guy who's traditionally played a ton of minutes and been able to stay on the floor long stretches. And I kind of don't think his offense is very good. I think there were times last night where he was just kind of getting in the way, literally. A couple times he'd set a screen and pick and roll and then roll directly into his big, just like 2 trains colliding. It was kind of wild. Not a particularly fantastic offensive player to watch. Good defender, no doubt. Good rim protector, but he's not very good. He's just big is going to stick with me for a very long time from my mother-in-law. It's again, great takes from the in-laws from this game. And thankfully they gave me a breather from having to have takes on this game, because look, it was a basketball game that happened between 2 teams that neither of them really wanted to win the game. It is what it is. We're going to come back on the other side and we're going to get into the good, the bad, and the from the game with a lot of talk about 2010s night, which is the celebratory evening that they had planned. And once again, I just kind of think the Raptors have missed the mark with their 30th anniversary celebrations, apart from one special guest who was awesome. We'll get to that coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at Open Phone. Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Personal phone becomes your business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls all day and night. As your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number. That's where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and personal life separate. I'm a big work-life balance believer. You're going to go insane if your entire life is work. And if your whole world is on your phone for work, it's really hard to find that balance. I've struggled with this before in my life big time. And having open phone as an option to not have to have all of the things on my phone, notifications going off at midnight about things that I don't want to deal with till the morning. It's a wonderful thing that you can go and get access to for just $15 a month, just the cost of a few coffees. You get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. Open Phone works through an app on your phone or computer, and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It's a wonderful thing. Call transcripts, summaries, etc., automated messages sent directly to your phone, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage after every call you might have missed. Right now, Open Phone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba for 20% off 6 months. Openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers, they will switch those over at no extra charge with Open Phone. Go do it. All right, closing things out here on your Friday edition of Locked On Raptors with the good, the bad, and the the way we round out every single episode of this here podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. A thing I liked, a thing I didn't like, and a thing that's got me a little bit intrigued from the latest in Toronto Raptors hoop. And not a lot in terms of on-court stuff in this one, but off-court, look, this was 2010's night in the building, and we'll get into my misgivings with it, but anyone who listens to this podcast knows, anyone who's watching on YouTube can see this photo right here of one Terrence Ross. It's not very clear because it's kind of small, but Terrence Ross was in the building last night. He was like the guest of honor for 2010's night, and you could not have picked someone more directed exactly towards me. So that's my good. Terrence Ross was in the house last night. You get dunk montages. You get montages of the 51-point game against the Clippers, the dunk contest he won, the dunk contest that he should have won, but before the NBA made this silly like team rule in the second year as he was trying to defend his title. I'm of course a dyed-in-the-wool Terrence Ross believer, one of the more talented individual basketball players to ever played for the Raptors. He just held it back a little bit because it would have been unfair for everybody else if he went full tilt, because he was just that good. Also, I guess on the broadcast, he joined Matt and Jack on the broadcast for a little bit. And in that, I guess he was saying something along the lines of like how you can learn from other players in the NBA. And the quote that I saw shared around on socials was, quote, "You can learn something from every player, even Andrea Bargnani." Perfect. That's broadcasting, baby. We love Terrence Ross. Love to see him in Toronto. Love to see that relationship's still strong. A man who I once had a conversation with in the locker room about how he had a store of Bulk Barn candy in his glove compartment just so he could snack while sitting in Toronto traffic. A man of the people, I say. Terrence Ross, big fan of Blue Feet, if I recall. It was his candy of choice. The king. The bad, it was 2010's night. We saw Terrence Ross. That was cool, but I kind of thought the rest of it was a bit of a dud. Like, there was this one montage, and this is just for like the in-arena crowd or those who watch on League Pass and can see what's going on the in-arena feed. But like, they had one montage of like the most viral moments of the 2010s, and it was just like 9 bad memes. And then, and they won the title in 2019. And like, hey, cool, that's great. But like, I don't know, it didn't feel like they were really celebrating what is easily the best decade in Raptors history. And frankly, when you think about it, 7 straight playoff runs, a championship, like probably on the short list of best decades for any franchise ever, like especially when you consider what had come before. And it just felt like there should have been more dignitaries in the house. Where was Grievous Vasquez? Where was Amir Johnson? Where was Patrick Patterson? I know the relationship there kind of not so good, but like, where was CJ Miles? Where were these guys who are not still in the NBA? I get it. You can't have Kawhi. You can't have DeMar. You can't have Kyle. They're playing. Obviously, they're not going to be in here. Serge Ibaka is overseas playing for Bayern Munich, I think, right now. You can't get everybody in the house. They were never going to do like a reunion of the championship team. Boy, am I excited for whatever they can do that, because that's going to be sweet. Hopefully they get Kawhi for that. I don't know. That's maybe, but like, you couldn't get Jeremy Lin in the house, Jody Meeks, anyone from the title team, Eric Moreland. I mean, Marc Gasol, you couldn't have flown him over charter from Spain to have him like get the loudest crowd pop of the entire season just by being in the building. I don't know. I think the entire 30th anniversary stuff this year has been a little disappointing. I think from the sort of sparse use of the really good purple jerseys and the glorious court they used last night, which should just be their full-time look. I don't know why it wasn't this year. And hopefully this is just a test balloon for it becoming the full-time thing next year. And if it's not, I think it's like a gigantic missed opportunity to make lots of money off of me in particular, among obviously everybody else who's going to throw some money down on some purple gear. But I think, like, look, the Vince Carter thing was the high watermark. It was fantastic. They did that perfectly, I thought. And there have been, a couple documentaries here and there. I thought the Kyle DeMar episode of Open Gym that we talked about on this podcast was great. We if you want to go back and listen to that episode from a few months ago with Katie Heindel, that was awesome. And they've had the Raptors Delight series running on Sportsnet, despite its very corny name. I haven't watched it all the way through, but even then, I gather they haven't really covered a lot of the championship team in that documentary either. And it just kind of feels like, I don't know. Again, you can't have all the guys who are on the title team here to celebrate or anything like that, but like some acknowledgement, some celebration, some just like halftime. Like if they just did halftime, and hey, Roy Woods, local R&B guy, did a good halftime show last night. But like, if you just did a halftime show that was, hey, here's like a 15-minute smash cut of all the best moments from the championship run, I don't think anyone's leaving their seats to watch that. Like to miss that, right? Like, I don't know. It just feels like they've not quite leaned all the way into the 30th anniversary thing in a way I wish they would. Maybe I'm thinking too much about it. Maybe this is way too much of an in the building centric thing. I don't know if this is something people who aren't at games feel or care about at all, but it has felt, at least like the game ops in building have been kind of lacking the overall appreciation of the 2010s last night. Like that's the best decade we're probably ever going to see from this franchise. It was incredible. Matching that is going to be a tall task. And it just felt like there was very little in the way of celebration of it. There was Terrence Ross, there was a couple little video montages, and that was about it. And it was like, I don't know. Again, bring Marc Gasol over. Let him do the dance that he was doing on the bus for everybody at half court. I don't know. For me, let's get away from me being a grump to something that will make me very much not a grump if it does come to pass, which I don't think it's going to come to pass, to be clear. But last night, Blake Murphy asked Darko just before the game, hey, are we due for a Brandon Ingram and Gradey Dick update? He said to ask 10 days ago, what's up with Brandon Ingram and Gradey Dick? I believe it had been 11 days. And Darko said, ask me tomorrow. And so we're waiting with bated breath for a Brandon Ingram and Gradey Dick update tomorrow night, or tonight, now that we're recording on Friday. And I don't know. Is the dream scenario in play now that it's all but sure the Raptors are going to pick or have 7th in the draft lottery? It's locked in. They're not going to move up or down. Is the dream outcome here where the Raptors say screw it and just play everybody for the last 5 games or so on the table? I really hope it is, because man, would that be a way to close off the season just with just a little bit of a taste of what's to come. Again, I likened it to an end of credits sequence in a Marvel movie. But like in this instance, it's like, what if all the Avengers were having like a party at the end of the Doctor Strange credits? Like, wouldn't that be fun? I'd be into that. I don't even like end of credit sequences all that much as like a concept. They're kind of lame. But in this case, I'd be eating that up like a little piggy. Like, can you just get 5 games of quickly RJ, Ingram, Scottie, Pirtle, Shed, Dick, Walter, Ochai, Mobo, Battle, the guys who are going to be the rotation for next season? Just get him out there. I would love that, especially if it doesn't mean anything for the overall standings of the team. Just finish the season off like that. Say, screw it, we're going to blow all of these remaining teams out with our full team just going full tilt. It'd be silly. It'd be hilarious. They'd probably get roasted for it, but I don't care. I want to see some fun hoop to close a year after not watching very fun hoop over the last month. And look, it's probably not going to happen, but until Darko Rajakovic says tonight that it's not, I'm going to be very hopeful that, in fact, we are going to see the full crew at some point this year. We're going to get a Brandon Ingram debut. We're speaking it into existence, even though I know it's probably futile because it's just way too late in the game right now. But here's hoping they just go, you know what? Everyone's in. Let's go. Would be lovely. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for rocking with the show. Please follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Back again on Monday, as usual, to talk about hopefully the first game for Brandon Ingram at some point over the weekend. Wouldn't that be swell? And yeah, we're winding down here. We're going to get into the draft really, really soon, even more than we already have been. We're like 5 weeks away from the draft lottery. That's all coming up very soon. The season's coming to an end. It's just going to mean things ramp up here on the show. So thank you very much for rocking with it all year long. Thanks for reading the newsletter. QR code on the screen if you want to go subscribe. Link in the description of the podcast. Come go join the Discord. Link in the description of the podcast too. Love everybody who rocks with the show. We will talk to you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye.